DirtTrax is sponsored by Can-Am, the ride says it all. Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicles. Hatfield McCoy Trails, where hundreds of miles of off-road adventure await you today. And by Yamaha, the first name in motorsports.
It seems like every season, my first trip of the year ends up being down to West Virginia to ride Hatfield McCoy Trails. I've had great experiences here with my dad and my brother, other friends. Every time I come down here, it seems like I end up being some sort of tour guide for the people I'm down here with. This year I decided to change the trip up just a bit and come down to Hatfield McCoy with a group of riders I met last year, the Wheeler Nation crew. These guys are honest to goodness ATV nuts, and I was really excited to take them out of their element and show them some of my favorite trails in West Virginia. The only Hatfield McCoy trail system that I haven't ridden is Bear Wallow, that's located just outside the town of Logan, West Virginia. Since I'd never ridden there, I figured this is the perfect opportunity to experience those trails along with the Wheeler Nation guys who've never ridden there either.
The Wheeler Nation crew is a group of guys who met through essentially work for the most part and realized that we all had ATVs and we all rode a ton, and we got together and started exploring new areas and places to go.
About 2 years ago, I was invited out on a wheeler trip. I had to borrow a four-wheeler because I didn't have one of myself at that time, and it just all went from there.
We're now up to over 20-25 people, and it's just the beginning of summer. It's going to grow even more this year.
Gentlemen.
Hey Luke, how's it going, my man? How was the drive?
How you doing? Good to see you again.
See you.
Luke. These guys actually came down a day earlier than I did and ended up blowing the two drive shafts on the back of Tim's Razor. So we figured while they're waiting for parts, we take the morning to just go out and explore the trails at a little bit easier pace, enjoy the scenery and get a feel for what Bear Wallow had to offer, and see if we couldn't get Tim out on the trail a little later in the afternoon. One of the really cool aspects of riding any Hatfield McCoy network is that you get to ride through the towns, and for a lot of people who ride ATVs, that's actually exciting in itself. We don't get to do that where we're from.
It was really neat going out in a bigger group, you know, going through the town. It's not something that we're used to being able to do on ATVs and side-by-sides.
The streets alone, there's elevation changes. You're looking down at the tops of some houses, down some tight alleyways, and then finally onto the trailhead that just, at the dead end of a street, it just started ramping up the side of a hill. The first portion of the trail was straight up the side of a mountain, switchbacks for about 10 minutes. And we got to the top, and I just remember we all looked at each other and we're like, this is going to be unbelievable.
Back home, it's a lot of rock on the trail. You're going over obstacles. Down there, it's more the scenery that takes it.
When you're on top of the mountains and you're looking into the valleys where you just came up from, it's phenomenal.
My first impressions of the trails at Hatfield McCoy was absolute excitement. I'd never seen trails like that before, going up the side of a mountain, and it truly gave me the feeling like I was a brand new ATVer again.
Hatfield McCoy is well known for their diversity of trails, and it's one of the biggest selling features of this area. It doesn't matter what level of rider you are, there's always a type of trail that you can have fun on, not feel overly challenged, not feel overly pressured. And that's, again, something I really like about this area. It doesn't matter who you're here with or what you want to do, there's a trail that will allow you to do it.
We're going up the trail, looking left, looking right, taking a look at everything that we don't get to see back home. It was great, but we really were looking forward to getting out and ripping the trails.
I could tell that the guys were getting pretty antsy and really wanted to wick it up a notch. Not gonna lie, I was feeling the same way. So we decided to head back down the mountain, grab some lunch, and see if the parts for Tim's Razor had come in.
Did I let off the brake?
Hold on a sec, Luke.
Okay.
Okay.
Good?
Yep.
So when we got back to the hotel, we put the Razor up on the trailer, jacked it up, took the wheels off, disconnected it, and pulled the broken axles out to get it ready for when the new ones came.
It was pretty clear that these guys had done trailside repairs before, maybe even more than once. It was impressive to see these guys strip Tim's Razor down, install 2 complete new drive shafts, and put it all back together in less than 30 minutes.
There we are. Thank you very much.
Y'all have a good one.
You too. Install time.
We had her tore apart and put back together in about a half an hour, and back on the trails. And essentially, that's not something we would have done back home, but being at Hatfield McCoy and getting a taste of the way the trails were, we had to get that thing back together because we just could not ride the thing.
All done. Ready to ride.
After we got Tim's Razor fixed, it was on. We were back out on the trails. We decided to leave Luke's ATV at home, and he jumped in with Tim, and we all wanted to just get a little sideways, get a little muddy, and put on some decent miles, and the riding was awesome.
We got to take advantage of those sweeping corners, flying through mud puddles, you name it, and it was an absolute blast. The up and down elevations are that much more emphasized when you're going at a quicker pace.
The faster pace in the afternoon was exciting. It's nice to be able to let loose and put the pedal down.
Unfortunately, during the course of our aggressive ride, Steve's Razor suffered the same fate that Tim's did earlier in the week.
As we were coming through the woods, I was following the group, and as I came to the bottom of a hill, it compressed the suspension and I just felt my axles snap. We're down to 2 axles.
Inside.
Glad I ordered the new ones.
It's part of the fun of doing what we do, right? Having bits and pieces fall off.
Fix it, right? Yeah. At that point, I said, what a great time to jump in with Luke in the Maverick.
He wheeled it into the woods, parked it in the forest where he couldn't see it, and he jumped in with me in the Maverick.
Done for the day.
I think that was actually kind of a bonus for him, to be honest. He looked pretty excited.
The trail started building up with a lot more mud, a lot more water. And, wearing an open face mask, definitely I was getting covered.
Hitting the mud puddles, it was fun, but we had the Maverick in front of us. So when we hit the mud puddles, you had the water from the Maverick, and then you had the water from my Razor, and it was like just a wall of water that you built.
You know, it just sort of escalated as the afternoon went on. I think by the time we stopped for a little bit of a break, we were actually kind of tired, a little worn out. It was awesome. When I rode with the Wheeler Nation crew last year, I got a little glimpse into how the crew works, but on this trip I got a much more in-depth look at just how important this is to these guys.
The crew's evolved mainly in numbers, but also the fact that the longer we ride as a group, the closer we get together as friends.
Being a part of a riding crew gives you a better experience. You get to share it with people. Riding by yourself is only fun to a certain extent.
It's not just about riding. We play hockey together, we hunt together, we modify our machines. That's another aspect. It's a great time to get in the garage and share some memories that way.
Seeing the way these guys interact with each other and the way they just enjoy each other's company really made it clear that ATVing is so much more than just the technology and the vehicles. It's about passion, it's about a love for the sport, and it's about friendship and spending time together. And it's really evident when you ride with a crew like the Wheeler Nation crew. One of the things we've been trying to do on our trips to Hatfield McCoy recently is sample some of the extracurricular activities you can do in West Virginia. We did some motorcycling, we've done some whitewater rafting, and this trip, somebody proposed the idea of doing some caving.
Well, when we were approached to go on the cave adventure, I thought to myself, I'd probably rather be on the ATV trails because that's what I was there for, but I certainly wasn't going to say no to an opportunity like that.
Going a couple hundred feet underground, it had me a little bit nervous. I wouldn't say that I'm claustrophobic, but anybody put in that situation will get a little edgy down there.
When you enter into the first actual cave, it's honestly, it's breathtaking. It takes you back when you see it.
It was absolutely unbelievable. Never seen anything like that in my life, and I actually forgot that we were there to ATV at that point.
There was concrete walkways, there was wooden railings, there was tons of lights. It was just an easy walk through a really cool cave, and I wasn't the least bit worried at this point. It seemed like this was going to be a really fun, cool tour.
And then we got to a point where we were walking down this pathway along these railings, and our guide just told us, yeah, this is where we actually start the other portion of the adventure.
At this point, we're going over the railing, heading down towards the light post right here, and then we're going to head straight up the back wall, and we're going to disappear for the next few hours.
Now, just as an outsider, there doesn't appear to be anywhere to go up there.
That's the way it looks. But you'll be surprised once you get up there, we're going to have a little hole that we're going to go through called the funnel.
That's great news.
And that'll take us into the back part of the cabin.
Very excited about that.
So you slip down through this little tiny hole feet first, and you're kind of trying to find your footing as you're going down because you can't see.
I thought it was a joke at first, like we were going to actually do this, but I thought, you just kind of go, oh, God, I'm just kidding, guys, go back to where we started or whatever. But we actually started slipping through these little crevices and these holes.
It didn't seem that bad until the guide continually moved forward into what looked like smaller and smaller spaces. And as we continued on through these caves, I was blown away by the fact that we were fitting through these tiny, tiny places.
Yes.
It really was a test to put myself through thinking, can I do this? I'm not claustrophobic, but it does give you a weird feeling going through there.
All right, guys. This is the next little challenging hole. This is called the drain.
Who thought of going down that? Yeah, what? I want to meet out of there.
Okay, so who was the guy who went down there and thought, yeah, I can get back out?
Gets to a hole in the ground, and because of all the rain, there was actually water flowing down this hole, so it actually did look like a drain.
As you go down.
Oh, my belly.
Relax.
So much for that steak.
That's nuts.
The further we went in there, the more we got comfortable and we're just enjoying the caves, looking around, and then that kind of came to a screeching halt later on.
Key thing to the birth canal, do not panic. Panicking is the worst thing you can do at the very end. If you listen to what I tell you, you'll be out before you know it.
The birth canal was, that was the one who everybody was a little apprehensive about because we were told by our guy that that was the tight one. And I thought the drain would be the tight one, but I guess it wasn't.
Now, just the name itself implies that it's not going to be an easy process.
Turn your head to the left so you can see it.
I can't see because of this helmet.
I know, keep turning it. There you go. All right, Luke.
Okay.
As you come up, just wiggle slowly back and forth and push yourself up as you go.
Okay, dude, I don't bend this way.
I got stuck immediately. Like, I didn't get through to my waist and I was stuck, and my butt was stuck and my back was stuck and everything was stuck.
That's the hardest part.
My butt, okay, seriously, my butt is stuck on this rock.
Is it?
Yeah.
Are your knees tucked underneath you?
No, they're stuck.
No?
I can't do it.
Okay, go back in. Want to do it another way?
I want out.
The longer I spent in there, the more, I'm not gonna lie, nervous and frustrated and a little bit upset that he made me do this. I got, and I just went back through the birth canal the other way.
And that's when everybody else started getting nervous because, well, if one person's not going to go through, everybody else probably not going to fit. But then we started realizing Luke's a little girthier than everybody else. The second Luke fit through there no problem. And then everybody else got through the birth canal.
It's not bad. My overall experience with the caves is it really tested the limits of what you can do. It's something that most people can physically do, but it's going through that mental aspect of it.
As much as it was nerve-wracking, it was an amazing experience.
I walked away from there knowing that that was a once-in-a-lifetime type experience and that you've got to do something like that.
It motivated me to strive for more experiences like this, possibly even with these guys again in the future.
Generally speaking, more is better. Off-road wise, I can't think of a time when I didn't want more suspension, more power, or more amenities. More? Well, it's just plain more. But what about when it's less? Are you confused yet? What I'm specifically talking about is Polaris's mid-size Ranger. It's definitely less than the full-size Ranger XP, but in this case, it's more than the competition. More performance, more fun, and specifically more power. Well, from a distance, the mid-size Ranger looks pretty standard. An 800cc badge lets you know it's anything but. And I do believe that only a crazy team of Minnesotans could have thought this thing up. And that's probably why they're #1 in the side-by-side world. Suspension and amenities are the same as the 400 and 500 mid-size, but the towing capacity goes way up. You might think of the midsize as a toy, but let me tell you, this Ranger is every bit a workhorse as its full-size siblings, and more power makes it better. Better for pulling, hauling, crawling, and carrying the stuff you need to move to the place you want it moved to. While the advantages in working scenarios are pretty obvious, it's the playful side of the 800 that really impresses me, showing me that this vehicle can be a monster in its own right. Getting the 800 up to speed takes no time at all and requires thoughtful modulation of the throttle, because wheel spin can and will take over if you don't use your head. Trail corners become far more razor-ish when nothing more than the blip of the right pedal will break the business end loose. And speaking of razor, keep in mind that this Ranger is more similar to the 50-inch wide Razor in capabilities. Because it's smaller overall, it can go places that the larger 800 and 900 just can't physically get. Navigating tight, twisty obstacles can be a task on an ATV, let alone a side-by-side. So the midsize Ranger offers a lot of benefits over its full-size brethren. The turning radius is significantly reduced, making twisty sections much easier to navigate, while also providing easier views of passenger side obstacles, because of its overall more compact bodywork and smaller dimensions. This is good old-fashioned, unadulterated off-road fun.
On paper, the midsize Ranger 800 is shockingly not all that much smaller than the XP 900, but when you put it beside the XP, it does look significantly smaller. At 2 inches narrower and 8 inches shorter, it can go a lot of places that an XP just can't. In fact, you might be surprised where I am right now. Look, Mom, no hands. I'm in the back of a truck.
For those who don't have a trailer to haul your rig, the midsize Ranger will happily fit in any full-size truck box easily, something a lot of others just can't pull off. In today's economy, with competition being as stiff as it is, you've got a lot to think about when you're making a buying decision. And in my opinion, knowing this market both inside and out, your money is very well spent on a midsize Ranger 800. The midsize Ranger 800 has the performance to satisfy both enthusiasts and utility workers. A precision chassis and driveline, and durability Ranger has become renowned for. At this point in time, I genuinely have nothing bad to say about this vehicle. If you're thinking midsize Ranger 800, you're making a good choice.
Dirt Trax Television has been sponsored by Polaris, the hardest working, smoothest riding off-road vehicles. Can-Am, the ride says it all. MBRP Performance Exhaust, making power with MBRP. And by Arctic Cat, share our passion.